Can you win this impossible endgame? White looks totally lost because white is down a pawn. But there's one hidden idea to win this. So I saw this puzzle and I had to share it with you. Let's see first if you're able to find the solution before I reveal it. So pause the video as per usual and try to find the answer. Okay, now let's start. Now actually, the second I saw this position, I thought about queen to f3. Now the reason I saw this, because after queen to f3, there will be queen to c3, and it looks like checkmate, right? So this is what I thought about. But after this queen to f3, well, he can just move the king. He cannot move the king here to d4, because after queen e3 check, king moves here, queen c3 check, and this is checkmate. So I thought that I solved it in just a matter of seconds, but actually I was really wrong, because in this position, after queen to f3, he cannot do anything with the black queen. As you can see, the queen cannot give any checks because my king is in the perfect position not to get checked. Okay, but after queen to f3, he can play a really good move to run away from this checkmate in one, and the queen cannot actually stop it in any kind of way. So he plays king to b4. After king to b4, we play queen c3 check. The only square for him is to go king to a4. We play another check. He cannot move up because it's very obvious it's checkmate in one. If he goes down, we play another check. He goes up, it's going to repeat move, and it's going to be a draw. Now remember, yes, it could be great to try to draw this even though we're down a pawn, but there's a win here. So we're trying to win this, not only draw. Because if you want to draw, we can just easily repeat moves and it will be a draw. So it's not queen to f3. The other move that you might be looking at, for example, queen f1 check and queen c1 check, they're very obvious. But there's one tiny tip that I want to give you when you're trying to solve puzzles and compositions. The most obvious move is not always the correct move. So the most obvious move looks like queen c1 check or queen f1 check. They're never the right move. Because after, like, for example, queen f1, he goes king to d4, we play another check, trying to get him to take this pawn. Because whenever he takes, you can see now the queen and the king are on the exact same diagonal. So now it allows us to give queen b1 check, the king moves away, and then we take the queen. It's a subtle trap, but of course it will not work because black is just gonna move here, and after some series of checks, he's just gonna keep, repeat moves. It can never be a checkmate because we only have a queen and the king's too far. And when the king tries to get close, the queen will give checks. So it is a draw as well. Now let's see the final check here, possible check. It is queen to c1 check. Queen to c1. Now he can move anywhere else. Like for example, he can play king d3 after this check. He cannot take because of, the queen c2 and we win the queen. So he goes king to e2, we'll play another check, and he goes king d1, and we're going to just repeat moves. We're going to keep giving checks, but it's not going to be winning for us or for him. It's going to be a draw. So we should not be doing this as well. So it's not queen f3, not queen f1, and not queen to c1 check. Then what is the move? The move is to try to get a checkmate. How to get a checkmate? We need somehow to think backwards. So what if the black king was on d4, okay? And we somehow magically landed the queen on d5. You can see that the pawn and the king are defending the queen. It's giving check, and the pawn is taking control of these two squares. So it will be checkmate. So we need to force the king to go to d4 and our queen landing magically on d5. Okay. This check actually allows him to go to d4, but after this check, he's not going to take and lose the game. He's just going to run, as we've seen here. So now we have to think about something else, and it is queen to b1. Queen to b1, we're trying to give him a check on b5, on b5, and then we magically, force him to go to d5, to d4, and after king to d4, we have queen d5 checkmate in one. So that's really cool. So if, for example, he pushed the pawn, queen b5 check, only move for him to go to d4, and queen d5 checkmate. That's really good, right? But of course, he's not going to push the pawn. Now, there are two ways for black to deal with this. First of all, by defending the d5 square, by playing queen to g8. So queen to g8. Now, if we play queen to b5 check, he moves king to d4, and this is completely losing for us, because we no longer have a check. because the queen is actually defending. And if whenever we try to give some checks, he will be able to run. Actually, this check is bad because he can play queen to c4, defended by the king, forcing the trade, and the black pawn will promote, and we will lose this. That's why we cannot do that. But, of course, you have seen this, that the queen and the king are on the exact same diagonal. Sorry, diagonal like this. So we have the move queen to a2 check, the king moves away, and then we pick up the queen. Now, this is actually the first move suggested by the engine to solve this position because it's completely losing. But there's also another move. It is not queen to g8 because, very obvious queen a2, and it's a winning endgame. Now, after, he can play king to d4, running away from this check. Now we have to be very careful how to deal with this. If we give him a check, for example here, he will not take the pawn because it's going to lead to queen c2 and you pick up the queen. You're just going to go back and then we're going to repeat the exact same thing, a lot of checks, and it's going to be a draw. We don't want that. So what is the move? The exact same thing here with the queen b4, he's going to go back, and queen b6, the exact same thing, he's going to go back. So we need to get this checkmate. Do you remember when I told you in the beginning, only if magically we force him to go to d4 and the queen magically landed on d5 to get the checkmate? Well, that's what we need to do. We need to get this queen to d5 to checkmate the black king. So how can we do that? We have this move queen to b5 to go here, but he cannot even take because we still have this check and we pick up the queen. But queen to b5 allows him to go queen takes e4 check. And after we move the king, it's not going to be very obvious how to deal with this because the black king will be able to run, he's going to push his pawn, is not going to be clear. Unless we want to get a draw, which we don't really want to. Okay, so after king to d4, the only move that wins to try to magically get the queen to d5 is not queen b5, but rather queen b3. Queen b3 getting checkmate in one here. Now you will see what is the difference between queen to b5 completely drawing position or dead or even losing position, or a very beautiful position here with the queen to b3. Now he cannot take with the king, of course, because the same idea. He takes with the queen, giving us a check. Now, we have many squares to go to. Now, we should not go here, that's very obvious, because of check here, forcing a queen trade, and we're losing the game. It's not that. Okay. What if he decided to go back? Well, that's going to allow him to have many more checks. Remember, whenever you're evading a check, you don't want to get into a square where more checks are going to be played. So the only position that looks very safe for us, it is king to d6. So king to d6. Now the reason why we don't want to go king to b6, because now you will know, because the king will be able to run. We really want, after queen check, we want to be very close here to keep the king somehow stuck. As you can see right now, the king's still stuck. But if we move the king away, it's not going to be stuck. It can move whenever we give him a check. So now after king to d6, we put the king in a great position. No more checks for black. Not a single check. He cannot even force a queen trade, because after queen to d3, remember what we wanted in the first place? We wanted the magical square d5 to get the checkmate, defended by the king, and this pawn is controlling the evasion square of the king, so he cannot run away. But looks even losing because he cannot push trying to make a queen or something. He cannot have any checks because queen c3 is actually checkmate, defended by the pawn, and he cannot evade. So the only square that he can run to is actually e4, but he needs to move the queen. If he moved the queen here, or he moved the queen anywhere else that does not protect the d5 square, it will be checkmate on d5, as you can see right here. So he needs to move the queen away and still be able to move the king freely and protect this d5 square. So he has many moves like queen g2, queen h1, or queen all the way back to a8. Let's first of all see what happens after queen to g2 or h1. Here we have two moves. One even draws the position, and one wins. If we thought about queen to e3, and after this check, another check, he's going to move back and another check, you can see it's not winning for us because we're only giving him checks. The king's very far away, and the queen is somehow trying to defend the king from afar. So it's not that. In this position, we have to play queen to c3. The idea of queen to c3, we're forcing the king to go to a square where the queen and the king are lined up on the same diagonal. So he goes to the only square, and queen c6 check, king moves, we pick up the queen, and it is winning. Now we have another position. Here, instead of going to g2 or h1, the exact same thing happened, queen c3, king back, and check here. He goes queen all the way to a8. He's still defending the d5 square, so we have no checkmate. Now, if you play the exact same move, for example, queen c3 check, this is losing. Yes, it is losing. Why? Because we cannot win the queen with this move. See, after the king moves here, yes, we have a check. The king moves up. Yes, we have another check, but the king moves here and another check. King moves. We have another check. King moves. We have another check, and the king moves finally here to h7. We don't have this check because of the queen. Whenever we play queen d3 check, he can just block with the pawn, defended by the queen. We have to move away, and after he has many checks, it's going to be bad for us. We're going to lose this 100%. So that's why we don't give queen c3 check. We want the king to be lured in so that the king can help, checkmate the king. So in this position, after queen to a8, we play queen e3 check. King moves to c4. Okay, we have to play another forcing move because we should not allow him to have any checks. So another check. King moves back. Now, as you can see, the white king is controlling these two squares, so we can give him a check, and he's forced to run here or here. If he went to a5, it's very simple. You just give him a check, the king moves away, and we pick up the queen. And that is very winning. But what happens when he goes back to a6? Again, another forcing move. We play queen to a4 check. King cannot go here because he loses the queen. He needs to protect his queen. After this move, we play another check on b5. You see how we lured him in here to the corner? Now you can see that black has two options, either c8 or a7. Now c8, that's checkmate in 2. Try to find it. 1, 2, 3. Okay, hopefully you managed to find it. Queen d7 check, king b8, and queen c7 checkmate. Now there's another variation. He doesn't have to go back. He can go king to a7. Now we have a check here, but he can go back and repeat moves. We don't want to repeat moves. And the most important thing, if you played anything else than a check or a really important move that's going to lead to a checkmate, is going to have queen b8 check, forcing a queen straight, and no way we're stopping this pawn from promoting. So what would you play here with white? This is very important. Would you play the check here, or would you play something else, or even check here? The only move in this position that wins, it is king c7. I know it's crazy, but before he had queen b8, he had many checks, but now he doesn't have any checks because the queen and king are covering those squares. He doesn't have a check here or check here, and he cannot push because queen b6 is checkmate in 1. So for example, he needs to sacrifice the queen, we take, he pushes a pawn, and queen b7 is checkmate. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you again.